you're right. Hope everyone's doing alright. It's episode 5. Can't believe we made it this far. I know. And if you've noticed, I've got a jingle now. And I've made the jingle because there was a copyright claim. So can't use that music anymore. The idea was to use music in the intro that has stuff to do with coronavirus or isolating. So this episode was going to be You Can't Touch This, MC Hammer. And the next one was going to be Fifth Harmony, Work From Home. That was a good one. Can't think of any more, actually. Don't Stand So Close to Me by The Police. That was another one. So if you had any ideas that could have been used, let me know in the comments. All by myself, Celine Dion. There you go. There's some for you. What could have been, eh? But of course, you've got to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I've got to start saying this now. Another thing that people are talking to me about is my, I want to say beard, but let's go with facial hair. Because look, that's what I used to look like. All clean shaven and smiley. Honestly, my razor thinks that I've run away. Well, I've had a bet with my dad that I would keep it until lockdown is over. And to be honest, I thought it would be over by now. So, and I wish I could have shaved it for this interview because it's a very high profile interview. I can't believe I've pulled it off. I've actually got the Mayor of Liverpool, Joe Anderson, to come on and speak to me, have a chat of what he's doing in isolation. So I'm going to put something nicer on. I'm going to take my hat off and do my hair. So here it is, the interview with Mayor of Liverpool, Joe Anderson. Mayor Joe, thank you very much for taking the time out of your schedule to join me. You were on Newsnight the other night, and now you're on Isolation Station with me. So,
well, at least I'm going up.
Yeah, going up in the world. I know. So, I basically, one of the first things I have to ask it is how you feeling and how you're finding it.
Well, I think it's hugely strange as it is for everybody, and I think we've all got our own interpretation of what it means in the isolation. I'm one of the ones that are sort of in isolation because I'm supposed to be shielded because I have a heart condition. So I've been sort of in isolation, if you like, with the wife, and she's been going out to work as well, but she's off for a little bit. So we've been in isolation. I have probably for around about 9 weeks. So getting used to it. I mean, I used to be in the Merchant Navy many years ago, so often sailing between ports for a couple of weeks at a time. You know, before you went to your next port, you were in a small cabin. At least I'm lucky that I've got a garden that I can go and walk around, which I've been doing. But it's strange times. It really is.
Yeah, it's such a surreal situation. And you said you've been like walking around your garden and stuff like that. So what else have you been doing to sort of like keep yourself occupied? What are you doing in these?
Well, I mean, obviously, to be frank, you know, my sort of time scale in terms of work, it's probably been harder in terms of the meetings that I'm doing and the conversations that I'm having. You know, we're having meetings with councillors and with officers. You know, usually about 6 of these a day is what I'm doing, as well as phone calls, as well as reading papers, writing papers. You know, doing a lot of things. It hasn't stopped. But I am managing to find a little bit of time for myself. I've bought myself one of these Fitbits,
right?
I'm sort of pacing myself around the garden every single day. So 3 times, maybe 4 times a day, I'm putting my iPhone and my music on. I'm walking around the garden, doing around about 15,000 steps a day, which is around 12k. So I think I've lost about a stone in weight. So I tend to keep it going and drive me on. So there is a little bit of a positive come out of it. I've lost a bit of weight. So yeah, it's been good. It's been absolutely good, and it's been, you know, motivational as well as you go for a bit of fresh air and go for a walk. Keeps your head clear as well, so your mental health and well-being is important. And I think if you're feeling a little bit fitter, you'd always feel a little bit better mentally as well. So listening to the music complements that. So I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, on the subject of music as well, I asked my last guest this. It was Johnny Bongo, and I asked him what his go-to karaoke song is. So, what if you were on the karaoke? What song do you reckon you could smash every time?
Well, Beatles is my favourite. I used to run a pub called the Munro in Duke Street many years ago, around about 20 years ago. I remember singing on the karaoke, 30 years ago, I think, on the karaoke Ticket to Ride. That's one that I guess I could smash.
Yeah.
I'm not getting the guitar out though, because I've been
No.
starting to play my guitar again, which has
really?
been in the attic for many years. So I've started to get that out. But yeah, Ticket to Ride, I'd have a go at the karaoke on that. Not that I'm promising that. I'm just saying
that's the thing. I was hoping for a performance at the end of the show, but there you go.
Well, we'll see. The guitar's over there, so we'll see.
I'll keep my fingers crossed, hopefully. Now, of course, we'll move on to your job, which is being the mayor of Liverpool. So you've spent 10 years now as mayor of Liverpool.
Yeah.
How's that experience been for you?
Well, I mean, I've been leader of the Labour Party, group of councillors for probably about 20 years, just under 20 years or thereabouts, maybe just over. And I think, the job is well, for me, it's the best job in the world. I'm passionate about this city. I love this city. I've lived here all my life. I grew up in the South End in a tenement block near the docks. I still love that area and love the people. And I've lived in Old Swan for 20 odd years now. And I love my city. Every day I'm excited. It's tough, challenging times. But, some of the things that we've achieved over the last 10 years have been remarkable.
You've got a really good city, and yeah, of course you should be proud of being there, So it's brilliant. And
yeah,
one of the things that I'd love to ask you is, because you are mayor, is it hard to keep or to maintain sort of like a professional persona? Because I was always, when I was little growing up, I was thinking actually being a politician would be like pretty cool. But say if I was driving, someone cut me off, or someone cut in the line at a supermarket, I'd be like going to say something and then going, oh, I forgot I'm like mayor or prime minister. So do you ever get those sort of situations, or do you think?
No, I guess I'm a working class lad. I've been brought up, as I said, in the Dingle in Liverpool, one a tough area, but with fantastic people. People that would, cut the right arm off to help you. People that have a passion about their city and about its people. You only have to look at the things that this city's been through. The 80s and the tough times of the 80s, Hillsborough, of course, and the challenges that we've faced over the last 10 years. People stick together. There's a spirit about Liverpool. There's a camaraderie about Liverpool. But I never forget my roots, and I'm never not proud of my roots. I've had lunch with the Queen for an hour and a half, sitting next to me for an hour and a half. I've met her about 8 times. Of course, I was proud to receive an OBE offer. I've met superstars, McCartney, lots of people, lots of important and famous people, and none of that phases me, because I've always being who I am. There's no airs and graces. People often say, you're very blunt or very straightforward, because that's what Scousers are: blunt and straightforward and honest.
Absolutely. So I'm going to turn into I'm going to turn into Andrew Marr at the moment, but I'm not going to be as harsh as him. So there was a lot of, well, let's not call it backlash, but a lot of people were like a bit confused, because you said that you wanted to, because obviously the sport is a big thing, but apparently the Premier League is going to come back next month. So and you were in favour of voiding the Premier League. Are you still sort of behind that view?
That was an opinion, as a football fan, and what I said at the time, and what I say now, is that if the football clubs had enough money and they weren't worried about money, and the Premier League and the TV companies like Sky weren't threatening to take money off them, then I guarantee you that the football clubs themselves would say, let's end the season. So let's make that absolutely clear. This is about finance. It's about finance for the football clubs. But coming back to my comments about and how we ended up in the comments that were seen or classed as controversial, I was asked the question by the BBC Online. And the BBC Online asked me a question. They said, Merseyside police have said that if Liverpool, even though behind closed doors, won the league, would you have concerns, as they have, about the number of people then that would go to the ground? Merseyside police said they had concerns, and I said, yes, I share those concerns. And then it went on to say, you know, about what did I think about the games being played at neutral venues, and I said, yeah, that's a possibility. For me, the most important thing is safety. I mean, I was asked questions around the Madrid game, and people said to me, why didn't you speak out? Why didn't you say that the game shouldn't take place? Well, of course, I couldn't stop it. You know, I couldn't stop Spanish fans coming into the city of Liverpool through John Lennon Airport, and I couldn't stop the game taking place, because that was a decision for the Premier League, that was a decision for the government nationally to close that down, and Cobra hadn't had a meeting to decide whether football should take place. So, you know, I said if it was down to me, and if it was down to us, and if it was finance, we wouldn't want the game to go ahead. And that remains for me the view that health and safety and people's lives come first before finance. And I made that point, and that was to say very, very clearly before the Grand National was cancelled as well, that everything is trumped by health and safety and people's lives, and that's what we should do. So it was a contextual sort of debate, and some people took just what I wanted to, or what was said out of context. Look, in all of this, if you're starting to return sport and, you know, you're playing football games when there's hundreds of people every day still dying, I think that's morally not right. You know, and look, I'm a football fan. You know, I caveated everything I said with saying that Liverpool are the best team in the Premier League at this moment. They're the world champions. They should be crowned champions of the league. Now, I'd like them to play the games and win it, but they should be they deserve it now, because nobody's anywhere near as good as they are. So, you know, look, sometimes you say things and sometimes they're taken out of context, and sometimes you wish you were able to explain it better. But I was asked the question after the police had said they were concerned about Liverpool having a game behind closed doors where they won the league. That was it, really.
I was at the Madrid game, and not many things had changed. It was there was no sort of precaution that had happened. The only thing that was different, it was more fellas were washing their hands in the toilets. So that was you know, that was the only difference. So it wasn't really you know. And do you think we went into a late lockdown? Do you think that the government could have handled this situation a little bit better?
Without a doubt. I mean, the Madrid game shouldn't have took place. It shouldn't have took place. I mean, there's no question of that. You know, I'd said, I think it was the day before on radio interviews before, because I made comments at our budget meeting, which was again taken out of context. People have just shown a little clip of it. And what I was saying was, you know, I was making the points that at that time, the scientists and the government were saying to us that there was no concerns and we should have no concerns. But clearly there were concerns. You know, we had the Spanish government that had stopped the fans travelling from one ground to another in Spain. And yet Spanish fans from Madrid were allowed to come to Liverpool. So of course there were concerns, and I had them. But as I keep repeating, Cobra, which was the government's advisory body and stuff, were meeting the following day. I think it was the same day that the game took place. And so nobody had made the decision. But I do think we introduced lockdown too slow. I think the evidence is clearly there to show that that was the case. And I think, when there's an inquiry, there'll be a lot of things that are looked at. And one of them will be about whether we were too slow to introduce the lockdown. My view is that, yes, we were. And that's not saying it in hindsight. I think there were many, many people that were arguing about it and saying it should happen anyway. And that whether that was the schools closure, whether that was the issues around public transport, whether that was the issues around sport, the care homes and warning care homes and providing PPE to care homes and all of those things were done far, far too late.
Another thing, you've mentioned care homes there, and there's talks about care homes being nationalised as well. Do you think that would be a good idea to start nationalising care homes?
Absolutely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, local authorities, we've got 85 care homes in the city, and not one of them is run by Liverpool City Council. We actually provide workers going out to help people at home, but running care homes, we don't, because of the cuts and because of the way local government is funded. I'm not saying that care homes are bad. Some of the private care homes actually do a good job. But in health, irrespective of where it is, in any form of public health, whether it's the primary level or hospitals or care, there should be no room for profit. That's something that I've held a view of for many, many years. Yes, some people go to private hospitals, some people use private hospitals, some people use private dentists, some people use, whatever. And that's, all well and good. And if people can afford them, they're there. But there should be the right amount of money in public health that provides adequate, proper care for people from the cradle through to the grave. And it's wrong, isn't it? Absolutely wrong that people have got to sell things like the houses and stuff, whatever, that they've built up all their life to provide care for themselves in later life when they've contributed through national insurance, through tax, for all their life to pay for the health service, and then have that taken away. So absolutely. And I think, the cuts to the health service, the cuts to the care, there's people who are working in care homes who are not on the living wage, who are on real poor wage and conditions, and that applies in the health service too. And that's wrong. It's ironic, isn't it, that now, we're clapping for carers, we're clapping for care workers, we're praising them. And at the end of the day, we've got to make sure that praise and that, anger that we feel the way that they've been treated continues to make sure that they are given a proper fair deal.
We're now into a phase of easing lockdown. There's some sort of, ways of easing it, to see how it goes, sort of the restrictions being reeled back a little bit. But one of the things they mentioned was the plan sort of in June and July. But one of the things in June which you sort of resisted was the opening of primary schools and nurseries for like year reception, year 1 and year 6. And you said that you would resist doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Until I can be convinced that we've got nothing to worry about and no fear, and the environment of school is a safe place to be for children and for staff. I'm not convinced that it's the right thing to do to open our schools up. And I tell you for why. Not just about the infection rates themselves being high, but that's fundamentally at the heart of my concern. It's about, how are we, we hear the scientists. I keep getting told that, you've got to listen to the scientists. Well, I'm sorry, but it was the scientists who advised the government that there was no issues in care homes. Well, we've seen 40% of deaths in care homes with COVID-19. And I think, the scientists themselves are saying, there's a lot of children maybe asymptomatic. There's a lot of children who we shouldn't worry about because if they get it, it'll just be mild symptoms. But what if they've got, elderly parents themselves? What if they've got, elderly grandparents living with them? What if they've got siblings that are shielded and have illnesses and other health problems? We shouldn't be risking our children's health and well-being. So for me, as the Mayor of Liverpool, whose responsibility it is to make sure that our children are safeguarded in schools, then, you know, I have a duty and a responsibility to resist sending our kids to school unless parents, teachers, me, the trade unions, everybody is absolutely satisfied. I understand it. I've got 6 grandchildren myself, 3 of them that go to school. My eldest son is going through, I really didn't want to talk about this, but I'll say it. My eldest son is going through treatment for cancer. At the minute, he's getting radiotherapy. He's got 2 children. The 2 children go to school. How sure am I going to be that that's not going to be transmitted back to him if they pick up an infection? So there's a lot of things that need to be, you know, considered here. And I'm not saying what I'm saying just for the hell of it. I'm saying that unless I can be convinced, and my officers here are convinced, that the safety of children, the safeguarding of our children in the environment they return to is 100% safe, then I'm not going to be asking parents to send their kids into those environments and into school.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with me, and thank you very much for answering those questions. I do feel a bit like Emily Maitalis at the moment, so thank you very much for that. But we'll go on to a sort of segment that I do on the show, and the viewers are always screaming for new content, but unfortunately I just recycle the same thing each episode. So it's a segment. Yeah, of course. You know, it's a segment called the Question Fez. So hopefully a question Fez will drop down right now. And so it's basically a Fez. Here it is in all its glory. And I pick out questions out the Fez. I don't know what the questions are myself. I get my family members to write them, and they're just a load of random questions for you to answer. This is where the show goes a bit downhill. I'm going to be honest. We've had a good interview so far, but this is where it starts declining. So I'll pick one out, and here's the first one. And it's a classic. It's a classic. So, what is your favourite takeaway? That's a good question.
It's a difficult one because I like me takeaway. We often get an Indian takeaway from the Tasmi, and that's in Derby Road. I'm mentioning that, by the way, so I might get a free one.
Yeah,
sure. Promoting it. So just basically a decent curry from there. No particular type. I have different types. But I'd go for an Indian takeaway from the Tasmi in West Derby and Old Swan. West Derby Road and Old Swan.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good idea. Mentioning that's good. So maybe Blue Mango in the village. If you're watching this, you know, me and Mayor Joe. We'll go in.
We'll come along. Yeah.
Right. So here's the next question.
Post lockdown, we'll get invited.
Post lockdown. Yeah, we'll have a nice little table in the corner of the Blue Mango Wood. There you go. So when was the last time you've been starstruck? I know you said before that you weren't really fazed by many people. When was the last time you were starstruck? It's a good question. Maybe joining the Zoom call with me. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's a good answer. Can we ask that question again, and I'll tell you.
Okay.
Joining this Zoom call with you. I don't mean you to start it again. I'm genuine, you know. But yeah, joining this Zoom conference with you. To be honest with you, I don't think I've been starstruck. I've been nervous at things. But not starstruck by anybody.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me. I think during the time I'm cool, sort of like talking to them, stuff like that. And then after I'm thinking, oh my god, did that actually happen? Am I actually talking to that person? Like Peter Andre was on my estate once. I don't know why. I think he was filming something. Yeah. So
I mean, somebody said to me once, you know, and you get someone said, "Have you ever met the Queen?" And I think I've met the Queen about 8 times. And she came, there was one story, of course, and it was a very famous one, where she came and she went on the Duck at the Albert Dock. Yes, and I was on it with her, with Prince Philip. And the then Lord Mayor of Liverpool was a guy called Frank Prendergast. And we were on the Duck. And anyway, the following week, the Duck sank. And I was thinking to myself, the following week, and I think to myself, God, if it had been, there'd been, you know, she was here a week later, and she was on the duck when it sank.
The Queen definitely beats Peter Andre, by the way. Definitely. And going back to the duck story, Prince Philip wasn't driving the duck, was he? Maybe
No. But it was funny because it was a terrible day, windy and blowing. But as I said, the following week, and it's a true story, the following week the bloody duck sank. And I often think to myself, you know, God, what would have happened if she was on it and it sank? You know, we're talking about Scousers being loved by everybody. I think we'd have been hated by everybody if she'd have ended up sinking in the Albert Dock, and it probably would have been me having to swim and rescue her.
Yeah. That is a brilliant story, but thank God.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's a true one as well.
Thank God. All right, so here we go. We've got another one. Here we go. So it is okay. This is definitely, my brother's definitely read this one. If you were a rapper, what would your rapper name be?
Probably something like Jolly Joe.
Jolly Joe. Yeah.
That's a good rap name for Jolly Joe.
You know, I'm thinking Anderson, but the S is like $, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but yeah, Jolly Joe has got a ring to it in terms of for a rapper. So yeah, Jolly Joe.
Jolly Joe.
I'd only rap out jolly messages.
That's a good idea. That could be a new career move. We never know.
It could well be.
Right, the last one in the Fez. We've got one. So have you got any party tricks? You got any party tricks? That's a good one.
Not really. No. Usually when I go to parties now, I tend to want to just sit down and rest and maybe just have a couple of bottles of beer. So I'm not the life and soul of the party as I used to be many years ago, but not anymore.
No, so you went like next to the Queen, like taking a cup behind it here or something like that. You know. Yeah, and that is it. That's all the questions on the Question Fez. So thank you very much, Mayor John.
You're welcome.
Mate. And I hope you guys are staying safe, and hope to see you back in work very soon when this is all over.
Okay, thanks, mate. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, Joe. Thanks for joining.
Well, it's brilliant to be on Isolation Station with the one and only Mr. Owen Adams. It's been a delight and a pleasure to be on.